In this tutorial, I'm going to focus on Django templates. But before I talk about Django templates, open your Try Django virtual environment folder, go into static, and create a new folder, call it CSS. Open your project in Sublime Text, and go File, New File. Save this file in the CSS folder, call it main.css. Before I work on main.css, under templates, open home.html. I'm going to clean up this HTML document. I'm going to add the basic HTML structure that all HTML documents share. Type exclamation mark, doc type, HTML. Then I'm going to open an HTML head tag and close the HTML head tag. Then I'm going to open an HTML tag and close the HTML tag. In HTML, any tag you open must also be closed. Remember that. I'm going to open a body tag. And close the body tag. I'll put this h1, hello world, inside the body. And then inside the head, I'll put a title tag, and I'll close it. And you can put the titles anything you want, but for now I'll just put title of document. Okay. I want this h1 tag to be red. To make this h1 tag red, I'll use CSS. CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets, and it allows me to add styles to my HTML documents. So open main.css, and to make the h1 tag red, type h1 color red. Save main.css. I need to load my static files into home.html before I can link to main.css. So type curly bracket, open and close a curly bracket, and type %%, which is a Django tag, load static files. I set the static file path in the last video. Here, this is the static file directory path. Oh, I spelled static wrong. Should have an I there. The static file directory path takes me into this folder, where my CSS folder is. So now I'm loading my static files into home.html. I can link to main.css. To link to main.css, type link, and I'll close this link tag. That's a shorthand. And I'll type rel equals style sheet, href equals, and then another Django tag, open and close curly brackets, %%, and this will go to static, which, like I said, the static path set here will take me to the static folder. And then to link main.css, I need to go into CSS to get to main.css. So type double quotes CSS / main.css. So I'm going into static, CSS, main.css. So now I've linked main.css into home.html right here. To ensure that all my CSS is displayed, I need to collect my static files. So open terminal. I'll just drag my project in terminal to open it quickly. And I'll type source bin/activate to activate my virtual environment. Then I'll change directory into the source directory, where manage.py is. To collect my static files, type python manage.py collect static, type yes, and I can see one static file was copied. Now, open Chrome, but first run your server. So type python manage.py run server. I'll copy this IP address, paste it in. I know the main.css has been collected and is coming through into home.html because I can see the color change. The h1 tag is now red. I'm now going to show you how to use Django templating. Using Django templating gives me cleaner, more maintainable code. In templates, open Finder, go to templates, or actually I'm just going to create a new file. Go File, New File in Sublime Text, save it, call it base.html, and save this in templates. Base.html will contain code that every template will need. Base.html will then be inherited by other templates. By using inheritance, I don't have to type duplicate code into every template I create. So copy everything from home.html and paste it into base.html. Delete h1 hello world. I don't need that anymore. In its place, I'm going to type open and close a bracket, curly bracket, %%, another Django tag, and type block content. Then I'll copy this block, and I'll say end block. Content is what the Django community recommends you call your main block. You can call this block anything though. Save base.html. Copy block content end block. Open home.html and paste it in. I'm going to cut hello world and paste it in between block content and block. I'm going to delete everything else in home.html. Above block content, I'm going to put another h1 tag. I'm going to show you how Django templating works. Close this h1 tag, and I'll type another h1 tag. At the top of home.html, type open and close a curly bracket, %%, extends, single quotes, base.html. This tag will add everything from base.html to home.html. So with this tag, home.html is now inheriting from base.html. Make sure all your files are saved, and open Chrome. Refresh the page. Nothing has changed. Right-click and hit Inspect Element. Make sure you're in Chrome when you're doing this. I can see that the h1 tag for hello is not being rendered. This one, another h1 tag right here, is not being rendered in the browser. However, the link for main.css and the other HTML tags from base.html, like the head tag, are being rendered. I'm going to tell you how this rendering is working. Open Sublime Text. Everything from base.html is coming through home.html. Block content inside base.html here is replaced by the block content from home.html here. Since this another h1 tag is not inside block content or is not also inside base.html, either or, another h1 tag is not rendered in the browser. That's how Django templates work. To make this another h1 tag render in the browser, I need to put it inside a block. I'll create a new block. In home.html, around this h1 tag, type open and close a curly bracket, %% block 2. And then underneath the h1 tag, end block. Copy block 2, open base.html, and underneath block content, paste in block 2, then copy end block, and paste it below block 2, because I also have to end block 2. Save everything. Make sure home.html and base.html saved. Refresh Chrome. Now the second h1 tag is being rendered through block 2. I'm going to create an about page for the website. Open Sublime Text. Under Try Django, open urls.py. Copy the profile URL, the home URL that goes to profiles.views.home, and paste it below. I'll make this my about URL. When our user goes to /about in the browser, a view called about will handle the request. So type about, and then change this to profiles.views.about, because it'll go to the about view. And I'll change the name to about. I just need to plug in my laptop. Sorry. Alright. Now I'm going to make the about view. Under profiles, open views.py. Copy the home view and paste it below. Change this to say about instead of home. And then I'll render the template about.html. I need to create the template called about.html. So create a new file, go File, New File, and save this file in templates as about.html. In about.html, type h1 and then close the h1 tag. Type hello about. Save about.html. In Chrome, go to /about, and I can see that the h1 tag is coming through. Hello about, this h1 tag is being rendered, so everything with my about page is working right now. Right-click in Chrome and hit Inspect Element. Okay, great. Everything's coming through. Open about.html and type extends base.html. Now type around hello about the h1 tag, type bracket %% block content. And then I also have to end this block. Save about.html. Refresh Chrome. The h1 tag is now red. In inspect element, hit the arrow to drop down the head, and everything from base.html, all this, the style sheet link and everything, is being rendered in about.html. The text color is changing because the CSS from main.css is coming through. That's templating and static files in Django. Django is a back-end framework. In the next video, I will use the front-end framework, Bootstrap, to make the project look even better. See you in the next one.